Hey, everybody! It's me. It's that Jacob fella from TheStrawhatNO. Yeah, it's time at long last to talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, the oft discussed newest entries in the mainline Pokemon franchise. The next generation of Pokemon is upon us. The Nintendo Switch, the open world, the new Pokemons, all of it. By God, people have been talking about this game, haven't they? You know what? And let's just hop right in. Let's just hop right into the part that y'all want to hear about. The part that everybody knows about, whether you care about Pokemon or not, everybody knows. The performance of this game is unacceptable. I'm just gonna say that right now. I'm gonna say that right off the bat. Regardless of the quality of the game, this game's performance is just so below par that it really, it's sad. It is honestly sad that this is coming from a AAA studio, man. I understand that fucking Pokemon is eternally rushed because there's just so much around Pokemon that the games can't not come out at a particular time. But dude, you gotta do a little better than this. Like, the frame rate is dog shit. I feel like the majority of the time was spent under 30 frames per second. Like, just, it feels like it barely even hit 30 FPS most of the time. It's gotta be in like the 20s and teens. Sometimes, yeah, the fucking low teens at points. Sometimes the game just runs in slow motion. Especially, I've noticed in places with a lot of water. I remember talking about this with No More Heroes 3. Like, the quality of the models, of the Pokemon in particular, you see the low poly models of them way too close, and it takes too long for their higher res models to actually load in, so it's super jarring, and the Pokemon can look really hideous for a minute. Of course, there is the low FPS animations that we've been seeing, like the kids in school, like during the opening cutscene, are just playing at like a quarter of the frame rate of the rest of the game. This was a thing in Pokemon Legends Arceus as well, but it was mostly just with the Pokemon that are really far away. It was funny at the time, because, I mean, that was one of the worst aspects of the game's graphics, and it ran a lot better than this. It's just a fucking sprinkles on the shit sundae. The game is also very buggy from what I have heard, but thankfully, at least on my end, I did not run into very many glitches. I did not have the game crash on me. I've definitely heard of people having the game crash, falling to the floor, just weird shit happening in general. The worst glitches that happened to me, there was one battle where the Pokemon I sent in didn't appear. I could still fight. It's not like the game was broken, I just couldn't see my Pokemon. And then there was this one area, it was in a cave, and then there's this like upper ledge that you can climb up to that had like this weird area. It was just a little ledge that you can climb up to that had like walls all around it, except for where you actually climbed up to it. And then the moment I got up there, I ran into a wild Pokemon. And so, like, I think that, like, me and my Pokemon spawned inside the wall since we encountered that Pokemon too close to the wall and from a weird angle. So we spawned inside the wall for that battle. And that was kind of funny, honestly. Thankfully, I didn't stay in the wall after the end of the battle. That would have been terrible, but, you know, that's really the worst of the glitches that I ran into. But, you know, the fact that other people were running into so many glitches is very unfortunate. I recognize that I very well could have run into some very unfortunate and game-breaking glitches, and I understand that if you listening to this video have not played the game, there's a good chance you too may run into a fucking game-breaking bug that will vastly negatively affect your experience. Now, I don't know if this is like a straw man, because I don't think I've ever actually seen somebody actually have this take. It's just one of those things where it's like, you see more people complaining about the take than you see people actually making the take. But there's people blaming the Switch for this. And, you know, while, sure, the game would probably run better on stronger hardware, There's also just the fact that this game is just not very well optimized, because it's not like this game is a graphical powerhouse or anything. The game is actually pretty ugly. The environments are very bland. The skylines are uninteresting to look at. It's not a very appealing game, with the exception really of like the humans and Pokemon models. Like, the environments themselves are the worst part of the game's graphics. The humans have a weird amount of detail to the point where I'm like, if you toned this back a little bit, would the game run better? Like, all of the textures on the people are pretty high resolution, and you can see like every individual stitch on your character's clothes and on some other character's clothes have like individual lighting on them. It feels unnecessarily polished in that way. There's a weird amount of this game that has polish where it is lacking in a lot more essential places, and that's fucking strange to me. It's just such a fucking shame that this game is running the way it is, and that this game didn't have the extra time that it needed to actually function like a fucking modern AAA video game. I think I remember seeing Arlo putting it probably the best, was that since Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Legends Arceus were both in development at around the same time, and they both have their own level of rough to them. Imagine if Pokemon Legends Arceus came out when Scarlet and Violet came out, and Scarlet and Violet came out the next year. Imagine how much better both of those games would be if they both had that extra time. I really think that both games would run at least competently. Besides, like, if they each had that extra time, that extra year of development each, they would be fine. I really think that. There's signs here that show that Game Freak are not just incompetent programmers. They are just not given the time they need, especially given the experience that they have with developing console games, which is, i.e., not a lot. You know, I say that, but it's weird how, since both of these games were in development simultaneously, some of the quality of life improvements from Pokemon Legends Arceus that were like unanimously like great are just not here for some reason. The most noticeable of which is the speed of battle. Pokemon Legends Arceus was the first Pokemon game that I could actually describe as snappy and quick. I cannot, say what you will about Pokemon, like, whichever one you're talking about, it's not a fast game. Like, even by RPG standards, it's slow as hell. The menus are slow. Stat buffs and debuffs take forever to happen. Effects take forever to happen. Pokemon Legends Arceus really improved a lot of that, but for some reason, Scarlet and Violet just kind of draw it back to about the speed that it was at with Sword and Shield. And it just feels unnecessary considering the fact that we actually have, you know, a game to compare it to with Legends Arceus, which was much snappier and much quicker, and felt a lot less like a drag to get through, especially now that I've played other JRPGs which flow a lot faster. Like games like in the Final Fantasy series, like in Chrono Trigger, or anything like that. They flow a lot faster. You don't need to wait, you don't need like a 5-second animation to show that your attack was decreased, you know? 5 seconds is a bit, that's a bit unfair. That's how it used to be, but now it's closer to like 2 seconds. It's still too damn long. I could just see, oh, attack decreased, moving on. At least let me control the menus. Let me mash A through these, And they got rid, I think, of the ability to like disable move animations, which normally I would never do. But the game, I was just getting so impatient with how slow the battles were that I kind of wish that it was there at least. But all that aside, do you want to know the worst part, the absolute worst part about this game's performance and how much it has stolen the spotlight? The worst part is that besides that, this game is fucking incredible. This game is great. This is the evolution of Pokemon that we're asking for. An open world, free-roaming Pokemon game where you can do things in a variety of orders that has tons of personality and an interesting story and just a whole new formula that fits with the series so well. This game is damn fucking good, and it is a shame. It is a crying shame that this game's performance is overshadowing that so much, because it does run bad enough that I can imagine it just ruining the experience for somebody. Some people play games for a sense of immersion. Some people play games, to get lost in the world. And the way the game runs, it just makes it difficult to do that. The way the game runs and looks. There are times where the frames will hitch for like half a second. The game will just stop moving for half a second, and it's super noticeable. And if that takes you out of the experience enough to the point where, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to play this game anymore, I can't blame you. But you know what? It wasn't enough for me. Ever since Sword and Shield came out, to all of that negativity, I have lived by the motto of 7 simple words. Some motherfuckers just wanna play Pokemon. That's 6 words unless you count wanna as want to, but forget it, I misremembered. And today, by God, I am that some motherfucker who just wants to play fucking Pokemon. Because I was absolutely able to power through this game's terrible presentation and have a great time, not be able to put this game down, and genuinely being excited for what's coming next in the Pokemon series. It's a similar feeling to how I felt with Pokemon, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. For as many problems as that game had, it reminded me of how much I like Pokemon because it's a remake of a game that I hold very dear. And then Pokemon Legends Arceus, I did not make a video on it. I could think of excuses. I think the main reason is I just didn't feel like it. But I also really liked that game. That game was a lot of fun and was a great proof of concept for a more open world mainline Pokemon game without really being a mainline Pokemon game. And this game does feel like it's, like I said before, it steps back in some regards, but also steps forward in a lot by combining that game's setup with mainline Pokemon attributes. So the open world, it is very freeing, and despite some setbacks that are kind of built into this game's design, you do have a lot of freedom, way more so than any previous Pokemon game, to do tasks in a certain order. So as was said in the trailers for this game, there are essentially 3 different paths that you play through the entire game. Not like roads, like story paths, essentially. There's Victory Road, which is your standard Pokemon get the 8 gym badges, beat the Elite Four, and become champion story. Cool. There is Operation Starfall, or Starlight Street, I think is the official name of the mission itself, which deals with the team of the game, Team Star, and going to all of their bases and beating their bosses and learning more about them. And then there's a third one, whose name I've forgotten, where you go around essentially helping your friend Arvin with defeating these gigantic Titan Pokemon, which are essentially bosses, like not legendary Pokemon, but like just boss fights, just randomly spread throughout a Pokemon game. That's cool. And you can do these technically in any order you want. Now this is almost perfect, because I did find myself just kind of running around in random directions, just kind of being like, oh, I think that now I want to go over here and do this objective all the way the fuck over here, which is on the complete opposite side of the map that I'm on right now. I just want to make that trek, see the Pokemon, and go all the way over there. I did find myself doing that a lot, and I do feel like everybody is going to go through this game on a different path. The only issue is the levels of the objectives. The Titan Pokemon, the Team Star bases, and the gym leaders, they don't scale their levels at all. So there is technically a predetermined path that the game kind of wants you to go down. It is not impossible to go out of that path, because I did by accident. I went to, I want to say they wanted you to go to this gym second, the grass gym, which is out to the east. That's the one I did first. And in terms of difficulty, that's like second, maybe third in terms of the difficulty of the gyms. And then I went to the one to the north of it, the electric gym, which I want to say is probably fourth or maybe third. I don't know. Regardless, I didn't go to the easiest gym first. But the issue with that is that once you defeat the stronger gyms and the stronger objectives, you're gonna go back and just plow your way through the fucking easier gyms. And that's a shame, because if they found a way to be like, okay, this is the first gym you're fighting, they have a team like set depending on the order that you fight them in. Like, oh, this trainer has a, first gym team all the way up to an 8th gym team. That sounds like a lot of extra work, and honestly work that I'm not sure that Game Freak has the time to do. But that would just make this format nearly perfect. Because it was jarring to go through like 3 gyms, like a Titan Pokemon and 2 Team Star bases. At this point, I'm in my Pokemon are in level 30 by now. And going back to the west of your starting point, where the easiest gym leader is, and then just steamrolling her because all of her Pokemon are in the early teens and bug type. If they just manage to have level scaling be a thing, at least for the objectives, then that would be perfect. I actually would rather it not happen to the world, because unlike other JRPGs, the fact that Pokemon are wild animals and this is their habitat, that's part of the world, and I don't want the strength of the ecosystem to be based around me. I think that would be a little immersion breaking in itself. But at least the objectives. Level scale those, and we're fucking good, dude. I was also surprised at just how fun it was to explore in this game. This game doesn't have quite as much to do around it like some of the other quintessential open world games like your Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, or Elden Ring. It's not like you're gonna find shrines or whatever sitting around, but this is the advantage of this franchise in particular. You don't necessarily need stuff like that around the world, because Pokemon in themselves are kind of a resource that you are excited to find and explore for in and of themselves. Like, you can go to this corner of the map where technically there's nothing here, but there's like a field of Pokemon that you can really only find here that you haven't seen before, and, battle them and catch them. That's such an advantage to making an open world Pokemon game, is because you can just fucking scatter Pokemon everywhere and kind of be done with it. Most of the fun that I had exploring was being like, oh shit, a cave, I wonder what Pokemon are in there. Or every now and again you'd find this tower that, I don't understand this, honestly. Like, there's a bunch of towers that you can climb, and all of them just have a Gimmighoul in them. Gimmighoul is this fucking little ghost mimic Pokemon. You can also find Gimmighoul coins, which I believe their only use is to evolve Gimmighoul once you get enough of them. But there's also just Gimmighoul catchable Pokemon that are on all these towers that are scattered throughout the town. I don't understand that. They're all the same, and Gimmighoul, I'm assuming until it evolves, is pretty shit. So that's kind of a strange thing to scatter so many different places. What else is exciting is, man, I love me an RPG town, and the towns in this game are very good. The absence of any real towns besides your starting village in Legends Arceus was pretty disappointing. Oh, wait, no, there was a couple. There was a few tent villages in that game or something. But actually going to cities and towns in this game is nice. Some of them definitely have more to do in them than others. Most of what I wanted to do was, shop. And I'll get into that in a second. But I do wish that there was more to do. Basically, there's only, gyms and shopping for clothes and accessories and sandwich stuff, which I'll also get to later.
Hey, yo, guess what? I didn't get to it. You can take a picnic with your Pokemon and play with them and have them play with the ball and stuff. You could also make sandwiches in this little mini game. Making sandwiches is kind of fun. They're a good way to heal up all your Pokemon. But if you're not close to a Pokemon Center, you don't want to use items. Eating sandwiches gives you a bunch of effects and like bonuses that I never really took full advantage of. Whoop-de-doo. Sandwiches.
And I wish there was some fun optional stuff more. There's like what the Game Corner used to be, or the Safari Zone even. There's really not anything like that in this game, or in any of these towns. But the architecture themselves was fun enough, because the Pokemon world, as it's portrayed in stuff like, I don't know, the more 3D Pokemon games on like the GameCube, or Battle Revolution on Wii, or even the anime or Detective Pikachu, like the big cities and the metropolises of the Pokemon world are beautiful. Like I'm a city slicker through and through, and I just love how Pokemon cities are designed. And this is the first time where you're really able, well, no, it's not the first time. Sword and Shield actually had some really nice cities, but they weren't as vast and explorable because of the limitations of that game. But I just loved going to all the different cities and seeing what's around, man. It was really fun. Now, on the topic of the shops, leads to another disappointment, and that's in terms of character customization. You only get 4 clothing options. They are the 4 different school uniforms you can wear, because this game takes, like, you start off as a student at this Pokemon Academy. The name differs depending on what version you played. I played Pokemon Scarlet because Professor Sada makes me go unga bunga. So that academy is called the Naranja Academy. And so because of that, you got school uniforms. And those 4 school uniforms are your only clothing options. Beyond that, you can change your hat, your glasses, your gloves, your socks, your shoes, your backpack, and I think that is it. That was really a massive bummer for me at first. But thankfully, the clothing options and stuff you're given and the accessories, I still managed to make a pretty decent looking outfit out of those. I just wish that you could, customize your shirt and pants like you could in, like, Legends Arceus or even X and Y or Sun and Moon. It's just lame that you can't do that. But this game does kind of make up for it, because Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has probably the best character creator of any Pokemon game so far. From my remembrance, so far, with the exception of like spin-offs like Battle Revolution, which, in itself was limiting, you could only like pick your skin color, hair color, and eye color from a few templates. And then, from there you could change your clothes or go to a salon and change your hairstyle. You couldn't just pick it from the beginning. This one, you can change your hair. You can pick your hair from the very start. You can also, go through the standard, facial customization practices. You can give yourself, there's a few different eyes to choose from, a few different mouths. You can give yourself like freckles or a beauty mark or whatever. You could pick your skin tone separately from anything else. Same with your eye color. There's actually some very strange looking eye options in this game that I didn't expect. You could make a pretty unique character in this game, even though like the hair that I picked seems to be the hair that a lot of other people picked. Can I just say though, that your character, this is kind of talking earlier, going back to what I said earlier about this game having polish in very strange places. Your character is super expressive. Like to start off, look at my character here. I like her hat. I like her glasses. I like how she looks like a little fucking turd that'll like shit in a bag, light it on fire, and leave it on your stoop. I'm so down for that. But like your character has so much personality in terms of their animations. Like, when you're walking through rain or a sandstorm or something, they'll raise their hands up over their face to, cover their eyes from the debris. If you stand on the edge of a cliff or, like, at the side of a bridge, they'll look down at like, what's below them and be like, oh, shit, that's pretty fucking crazy. I hope I don't die. Like, and they're just the facial expressions themselves are really varied. At the end of each mission you do, you take a picture that is relevant to that, and your character is really cute and animated in those as well. And of course, when you eat a sandwich at a picnic, you do this, honestly, this animation that is really fucking like half-assed, but I've seen too much attention given to that shitty sandwich animation where it's just a sandwich in the background and your character like pops into screen and takes a munch out of nothing. It's like what I mentioned in the Sonic Frontiers discussion. I hate when there's so many issues, but you decide to nitpick one thing really hard. This feels like one of those. Like, there's so much wrong with this game, I don't care about the damn sandwich animation. The worst part about the sandwich animation is that it doesn't play like 60% of the time. Like, most of the time when I ate a sandwich, my character would do like the physical movements, but their face would remain perfectly still the whole time. That's the real problem here. But when it does work, it's really cute. And your character is very expressive there. I've been saying that a lot, but it's true. Character is very expressive. A lot of personality. Probably more so than most Pokemon games, if any Pokemon games before this. One more thing about exploring in this game is riding Koraidon or Miraidon, depending on your version. I personally don't. I prefer Miraidon, but again, Professor Sada, Hui Mama, I had to play Scarlet. But riding around on your legendary in this game is really fun. You move really fast, especially once you get a dash move. And, well, I guess that spoiled something. Every time you defeat one of the Titans in this game, Koraidon, I'm just going to say Koraidon. Koraidon gets a new ability. Like, you can, eventually, at the end of the game, you can, I'm just going to say them all if you don't want to know. You can move faster, you can jump higher, you can climb walls, and you can swim. And then you can also glide. Essentially do, like, anything Breath of the Wildy, like with the paraglider or climbing walls, etc. Like, you could do all of that, and that increases your maneuverability a lot. And Koraidon just controls well, I think. Riding around on him feels good. I just like the idea of riding Pokemon in general. It's really snappy to bring out, much like in Legends Arceus, where you just press a button and bam, you're on him. And you're riding around much faster. It's a very welcome thing. Plus, even before you get all of the upgrades, I tended to find some fun in just trying to figure out how I can get to certain places before I'm supposed to. I definitely did that. I remember there was this one cliff that led to this, like, this kind of weird, like plateau alcove that's just up someplace. You're supposed to be able to climb up to it, but I've managed to find, like, a high point, like, not even, like, half a kilometer away or something, and glide there before I was supposed to. And I was like, oh shit, these Pokemon are like 10 levels higher than me. That's pretty cool. That was fun. Riding Koraidon is fun. He's a welcome boy. He is also, guess what, expressive. He's the best animated Pokemon I've seen so far. Like, just all of his little animations you see during his cutscenes, they're very cute. He's a very, actually, endearing character despite his insane look. It's such a stupid-looking thing, but how stupid it looks really kind of endears myself to him in a weird way itself. Speaking of ridiculous-looking, I guess I'll talk about the Pokemon themselves. Honestly, this is a fine gen of Pokemon that I've seen, but, you know, I'm not wild about too many Pokemon. I just want to talk about some of the ones that come to my mind. I'll talk about my team and the Pokemon that I mainly used. But there's one other Pokemon that really comes to mind, and that's the fucking Bramblin, I think, the Tumbleweed Pokemon. Come on. Like, I try not to say come on to Pokemon because, you know, whenever you do, it's like, oh, Gen 1 had a Pokeball. Gen 1 had one mole and then 3 moles. You know, like, Gen 1 obviously had some Pokemon that are a little low in creativity. But the thing is, like, even like a large amount of the Pokemon that are like, really, you made a Pokemon out of that, they're pretty cool at least. Like, I think Klefki is cool. I think Garbodor is cool. The only one that I remember like being really like blabbergasted by was Clink Clank and Kling Clang. I still don't like them. But Bramblin, there's nothing cool about a Tumbleweed. I don't want to use a Tumbleweed. That's like the one Pokemon this time around where I was just kind of offended by its existence. Which, you know, I don't feel that way very much about Pokemon. But Bramblin's fucking lame, I'm sorry. But it's definitely not doom and gloom. These Pokemon are good overall, I'd say. Let me go over my team, let me think. My team included a Kilowattrel, which is this big electric albatross. Which is I really liked Kilowattrel. I named her Laura. I named her after the Street Fighter V character, who also uses electricity. I didn't use this on my final team, but Tandemouse and then Mousehold. So fucking cute. I love them so much, and they're surprisingly useful. It's just that they're normal type, and I didn't really have much use for it in my team that was already had quite a few weaknesses to it. And I named my Mousehold Hitting Mices after that shitty bootleg game you find on Famiclone consoles. I am not hitting mices. These mices are doing the hitting. That's the thing with them. My starter, I picked Chiquitita. I picked Sprigatito. Can you guess what I named my Sprigatito? I named it Chiquitita after the fucking ABBA song, because every time I heard the name Sprigatito, all I could think of is Sprigatito, you and I know. And yeah, I didn't care what, like, Chiquitita is clearly a girl's name, but I don't give a shit. That Sprigatito, it was being named Chiquitita. And for the fucking record, why is this Pokemon so fucking busted? There are some busted moves in this game. Its final form learns this move called Flower Trick, and I'm going to assume that each of the other 3 starters get a move like this as well. But it's crazy. It's like, I want to say, it's either 80 or 90 power, guaranteed to hit, and guaranteed to crit. So, taking into effect that I'm pretty sure Meowscarada is the only Pokemon that can learn Flower Trick, maybe there's some others, but I assume it's its signature move. You have a move that essentially is a guaranteed, almost like 180 power move, taking into account stab and the critical. Like, that's an increase of, like, that's doubling its power, like, and it's already at a power of like 80 or 90. And then if you add super effective to that, holy fucking shit, that move is unbelievable. Why would you use any other grass move on this thing other than that? And I really hope that the other starters get a move like this, otherwise Meowscarada is just unreally fucking strong. Let's see what else. I got this I want to say Dodonzo? Dodonzo? Yeah, Dodonzo. The giant fucking catfish that is a very good tank, and I needed a water type, and this thing, dude, it's got some beefy defense and a lot of HP, and I was happy about that. It can pack a punch too, you know, it's not a big attacker, but you know, it can take a hit, and that's what it's definitely very much useful for. Tinkaton, dude, everybody seems to be fucking head over heels in love with Tinkaton, and yeah, Tinkaton is adorable. Really cool, also with her own, like, busted ass move in the form of Gigaton Hammer, 100 accuracy, 160 power steel move. So that's just great. Like, it makes up for it by 2 things. One is the fact that you can't use that move more than once in a row. Like, you have to use it and then use a different move before using it again. And the fact that Tinkaton's attack actually isn't all that great. So, I mean, if her attack was way too strong, then, you know, this move would be insanely broken forever. But, you know, Tinkaton has pretty average to below average attack, so that kind of, like, this move is to help it, not to, like, buff it even further beyond, you know? And, of course, I named my Tinkaton Senna, because, duh, tiny girl, large hammer. I'm gonna name it after Senna from Xenoblade Chronicles. Oh, I forgot to mention, I named the Dodonzo Master Feng after the Shaolin Showdown character. I don't know why. This doesn't look anything like Master Feng, but the like Asian catfish, koi looking thing, I just thought of like just some kind of like monk or something. So it's a Master Feng, fuck it. I also ended up using a Baxcalibur, the Ice Dragon. I named her Ice Maiden. After an Icarus Witch song. It was okay. I've rarely used dragons in my time playing the game. So it was nice to just have this super powerful dragon. It's just the ice has so many weaknesses that she didn't feel quite as strong as I was hoping. But I really needed an ice Pokemon, especially considering the fact that my team was so weak to ice in general. You know, isn't it neutral? Yeah, and plus it's even neutral to ice anyway, so fucking, I was just weak to ice. Like, I was using this Salazzle for a while as my fire type, but then I felt like a little guilt because Salazzle's not a new Pokemon, so I was like, I'd rather just use normal Pokemon. I caught a Charcadet and named him Johnny, after the name Johnny. But I know that it turns into something cool eventually, but dude, Charcadet is fucking weak. At least mine was. I couldn't get him to do anything. So I just lost patience. I was like, fuck it. It's got some weird, like, evolution scenario you need to fulfill, I think. Let me look it up. Yeah, it evolves when exposed to the auspicious armor. Or the malicious armor, which is, like, items you can get at some point. Yeah, this thing fucking... I didn't have the patience. I'm sorry. I'm sure that Armorage, or Cerulege, the two things it can possibly evolve into, I'm sure they're great. I don't fucking care. I would rather be weak to ice than have to find the fucking item to evolve this weird little kid into something decent. I completely lost my patience with Johnny. I actually just booted up my game because I was having a hard time remembering what other Pokemon I wanted to talk about. And I really don't know why I forgot about this one, because this is probably my favorite new Pokemon in this game, and that's Espathra, the fucking psychic ostrich. I don't know what it is about this Pokemon design, but I just absolutely love it. And it's a really good Pokemon, too. You know, psychic types tend to kind of kick their own ass. Well, that's not what I meant. Psychic types tend to kick ass, and Espathra being a cool ostrich, like, I was just so down for it. I don't know what it is about this thing, but I just was drawn to it immediately. I actually first saw it watching CJ play Violet, and seeing it, I was like, ostrich, I want that! And then I got to the point that they were at, and I caught one, and I used it, and I named her Cleo, specifically after the Clone High Cleopatra character, because it's got kind of an Egyptian aesthetic a little bit. The only thing is, I don't know how we reach Espathra from Flittle, which is this little fucking, like, tutu-looking Pokemon. I don't know how we get from there to Ostrich. Like, I know Flittle kind of looks like a baby chick or something, or an egg, but it definitely doesn't look like a baby ostrich, so I don't know where this came from. I really don't get it. Let's see, I'm just gonna go through and rapid fire a few that I don't have as much opinion on. Palmy, it's fine. Knackley, it's salt, I don't really care. Tarantula's cute. Paldean Wooper is cool, and fucking Clodsire is a legend. Nimble is a cricket, sure. Cyclizar is like a slightly cooler looking Koraidon. I'm just going through my box because I caught a lot of Pokemon. Dude, Lechonk is wonderful. Oinkologne is less cute, I think. I stopped using it. I kind of wanted to use a Lechonk on my team, but meh. Wiglet is pretty funny. I joked that its evolution would be called Wug Trio, and then it was actually named Wug Trio. Squawkabilly is actually really strong. Before I got Kilowattrel, that was going to be my my flying type. Squawkabilly is pretty tough. Paldean Tauros is pretty cool. Tadbulb, whatever. Varoom and Revaroom are pretty cool. Fucking engine Pokemon. Oh, I caught a Bramblin. Bramblin's stupid. I hate it. Earthworm, despite being named after Earthworm, is not a ground type, and that's unacceptable. Cloth is pretty cool. I like Big Crab, which is weird. I don't know what it is. I hate crabs, but I love crab Pokemon. Kingler is one of my favorite Pokemon, too. Capsakid, and then, Skull Villain. They're kind of ugly, but I kind of appreciate that in their own way. Mastiff and Mabostiff, fucking baby boys. Finizen, such a shame. Finizen is very much in the Tepig family, where I fucking love its first form, but I do not care for its evolved form, so I just don't use it. And it's such a shame, because Finizen is so cute. I'm a cetacean. I'm a member of the Cetacean Nation. Wait, what? Oh, right. It's got a hero form. It's just a bigger one. This is my first... I don't understand. I don't like the... It's dumb looking. Why does it have pecs? Stupid. Relor. Why do we have a dung beetle Pokemon? That's just funny. Farigiraf is, I don't know. Girafarig needed an evolution, but it's whatever.
Bombardier. This is Stork. I guess that's where eggs come from. Gimme Ghoul. Disappointed how bad it is. But their coins are everywhere. That's nice. Flamigo, I really shouldn't like as much as I do, considering it's just a fucking flamingo. And its name is Flamingo without the N. But I don't know. I really like Flamigo. If I didn't already have there's some good flying types in this game, man. Like Kilowattrel and fucking Flamigo and Squawkabilly. I'm down for it. Graphi-Fi. Evolving from Squoodle. What the fuck is the other one? I actually passed by it. I don't know why I didn't mention it. Where is it? I know I have one. I don't know. But they're cute. I like eyes because they're so ugly and cute. Grievard is fun. A little ghost boof. Citadel. And Cititan, I appreciate how they are evolved from Whalmer according to their Pokedex. So they're essentially land whales, and that's pretty sick. Tatsugiri, the little sushi fish dragon, I don't get it. It's cute, I guess, and the fact that it's a tiny dragon is fun. I don't get it, though. Billy Bolt, it's fun. It's fat. It's got eyeballs, a little smile. These are kind of spoilers. I don't want to talk about them. That's basically it. All the other Pokemon I see, I either have no opinion on at all or are old. So yeah, there you go. The Pokemon, I'd say they're good. This is a good gen. Not my favorite gen, but you know what? I'll take it.
Another thing this game does fantastically well is the music. This actually might be my favorite Pokemon soundtrack. It's just so varied in terms of things like genres and instrumentation. Pokemon music throughout the years has always kind of had a very similar vibe, but this game breaks a lot of the standards of the music that Pokemon has. The most easily noticeable thing is that the overworld music, of course there's a few of them depending on the area that you're in, it is dynamic with the wild Pokemon battle theme. So it just kind of fades from one into the next one, but kind of maintains the same song structure just with a different tempo and style when you encounter a wild Pokemon. I thought that was cool as hell. The gym fight song is also really good. Yeah, the gym fight song, when you fight a gym leader and the song plays, it's really fucking cool. I love the fucking skronkin-ass saxophone and trumpets and horns and stuff that go along with it. It's one of those brass instruments, I promise you, but probably not all of them. And then when you get down to their final Pokemon, the fucking crowd gets into it and stuff, and it gets all super hype. I honestly prefer the song before that, but it's still a nice feeling to go through. Also, one more track that really stood out was the song that plays in the Ghost Gym Leader's town, in Rhymes Town. That it's just so chill, and it's so funky too. I love that one. And of course, Toby Fox worked on a few of the songs for this. It's pretty fucking sick, if I do say so myself. Now I want to wrap up with one of this game's strongest points, and something that is such a gigantic step up from how awful it was in Sword and Shield, and that is the story. This game's plot is very engaging, and the fact that you have 3 linear stories to go through simultaneously, it helps it a lot, because you're never doing the same thing and getting bored of it too long. You can hop across from gyms to the Team Star thing to fighting some Titan Pokemon. And there's just enough intrigue in all of those to really help them along. With Operation Starfall, there's a lot of mystery behind Team Star that you kind of unravel as the game goes. You're being guided by this mysterious voice named Cassiopeia, which I always imagine just sounded like L from Death Note. Since I just finished watching Death Note. I was tempted to make a video about Death Note, believe it or not, but I didn't, because it's not a video game. Anyway, they're the one who kind of guides you along. But there's also this handsome young student named Clive. I don't know why your character's so suspicious of him, or why she thinks that he looks like that he's like the principal of of the academy. I don't see the resemblance. It's just Clive, you know? It's just Clive. He's fucking Clive. Anyway, Clive helps you out a lot, and his whole presence is fucking hilarious. And Team Star, first of all, I want to get my main criticism with them out of the way. Uniforms suck. They're just some slightly shabby looking school uniforms with a motorcycle helmet. Fucking lame. But what's not lame is the fact that they are like the most sympathetic team in Pokemon history. The bosses themselves that you fight in the bases that you raid, they're so cool. They're so fucking cool. Their designs are great. They're really likable characters with diverse personalities. You like fighting them, and you learn a little bit about them every time you beat them. And that's just so cool. I loved Team Star. They are one of my favorite Pokemon teams. Oh man, are they better than Team Skull? Team Skull is really good. I don't know. Your boy Guzma. It's hard to beat your boy Guzma. And then there's the Titans. The battling the Titans with Arven, who is the son of the two professors from the both games. Professor Sada, who makes my heart go unga bunga, as I've stated, and the other one from Violet, whose name I've forgotten. They're both total thirst traps, and I appreciate that. And this is their son, who is about as rugged and handsome as you'd expect those two's kid to be. He makes a mean sandwich and he's got a nice doggo. Like, his whole thing is that he wants to defeat these Titan Pokemon because they got to become Titans by eating this herb, which has healing properties, and his poor pupper, his Mabostiff, is sick, and he just wants to heal it. And you're like, oh, Arven, of course I'll help you with your pupper. Of course I will, and he calls you his little buddy. Arven's the best. Arven is a fantastic dude. He comes off a little strong at first, and that made me worry because it's like, oh god, a nice character who's somewhat rude to you. That must mean they're going to be a villain, but no. I'll just spoil that. They're not a villain. Arven is just a wholesome man, a wonderful, wonderful man. And then, of course, there's the gym battles, which is, go to the gym leaders, fight the gym leaders. And you have your rival in this game, Nimona, who, dude, she rules. And it actually took me a little while to realize why exactly Nimona rules. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, she's that same level of like, ultra chipper, almost to an annoying extent, just stupidly friendly rival that you just want to, like, they're just so nice you want to strangle them kind of rival that Pokemon has had for a while now. But it worked for her. And a part of me was wondering, it's like, oh, it's because she's a girl, and I relate more to girl characters. If a character's a girl, I'm more likely to like them. Oh, it's got to be that. No, I thought about it more. And it's what makes it work is that because Nimona has already done what you are trying to do in this game. She has already gotten all of the gym badges. She has already defeated the Elite Four. She's already become champion. So she is just as much of a mentor as she is a rival in this game. And that makes this dynamic so cool. She's so encouraging, not from a point, because like with all your rivals in past games, with the exception of something like Silver from Gold and Silver, or Pink Dickhead from Sword and Shield, barely counts. I don't fucking like that kid. Like, it's not a case where you and this person are just kind of starting your adventure at the same time. You just happen to be like kicking their ass in all the time. No, this person is an extremely adept Pokemon battler who eats, drinks, shits, and breathes Pokemon battling. But she knows that you can be just as good as she is if you keep trying. And she builds teams around helping you learn. Because that's her main goal here, is to help you out in getting to where she is so that you can provide a proper challenge to her at full power. That's great. That is a great change for a rival. I fucking loved it. Nimona is great. She is really charming for that reason. She doesn't come off as condescending. She feels very encouraging and wholesome for that. Easily one of the best Pokemon rivals ever. Fantastic shit from Nimona. One person I forgot to mention is Penny. Penny, you meet her a lot in Operation Starfall. She's a lot sassier than she comes across. I thought that she was going to be like the fingers poked together, ooh, I'm shy, girl. But no, she's got a fucking mouth on her. I love Penny. Her real personality doesn't start coming to fruition until later in the game. So at first she does seem like that kind of shy person, but once you get to know her more, she opens up and she starts to show her sassy side. And I'll just leave it at that. Another fucking weird thing that it's like, wow, you spent time on this, but the game runs at 20 frames per second. There's like Fire Emblem ass supports you can do with the teachers at the academy. It's like all totally optional things. You don't ever really need to go back to the school except for like some certain story beats. But what you can do, if you want, you can go to class, which are essentially, long tutorials about how Pokemon works and how some of the new mechanics work, but a lot of it's about the old shit that everybody who's played Pokemon for years knows already. But if you do the tutorials, you can then like hang out and talk to your teachers outside of class and have these little cutscenes where you learn more about them. Why is that here? And why is it so cool? Like, I'm actually working through some of them as we speak. Like, I'm not quite done playing this game yet. I've done all that I care to do in terms of like main story stuff and like actually playing the game. I'm just kind of going through and making sure that I can do all of the little support cutscenes with the teachers, because I just really like that this is here, and it's just so completely optional. I think you get some items from it, but mostly it's just like, hey, if you like this teacher's design and want to hang out with them for a while, you can. And there's some good ones. The director Clavel, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's actually really charming and funny. Like the old dude, I like him a lot. He's charming and funny. Rayford is just a top tier design. I haven't hung out with her very much, but I'm going to work on it because she is just really, really cool looking. Miriam is the nurse, and like any anime nurse, she's a fucking airhead, and I am just weak. I'm weak to my knees to the pink-haired, ditzy airhead nurse. Like, oh my goodness. Thankfully, since she's not a teacher, you can just you don't need to go to class to hang out with her. You can just do it like pretty much throughout the story. Whew! She is a pretty lady. I like her a lot. And there's a few others. I just wanted to point out that fact because it's just so strange. It's so strange that this super totally optional like visual novel part of the game is even here when there's so much of this game that's unpolished. Like I said, there's weird places where this game is super polished. I guess I'll close off on the gym leaders. They're pretty fucking good this time around. Gym leaders, I feel like they just keep getting better and better. Like Sword and Shield had some top-notch gym leaders with like the grass guy with the big body and the tiny face that you start off with. Nessa is fucking gorgeous. B is cool. Voiced by Tiana in the anime, I believe. That's pretty fucking cool. Tiana Camacho. I was about to say rest in peace. She's not dead. I meant to say represent. Moving on. But in this game, it's mostly winners. The first one I fought was Brassius, who was the grass gym leader. I was just amazed that he looks like exactly like Hubert from Fire Emblem. He's just an art dude. Actually kind of disappointed. You meet some of the gym leaders later in the game as well, and that's when Brassius, I think, kind of his personality starts to shine. But your first encounter with him is like, he's fine, I guess. He looks like Hubert, though, so that's cool. Iono, dude, they had like a cutscene, like a trailer, like a full CG-ass trailer introducing Iono, and like she talked and shit. She had like a little show because she's a streamer. And I'm like, I shouldn't like this character as much as I do, but I cannot fucking get enough of Iono. Her design is incredibly cute. I like how she's got the two big magnemites in her hair, her gigantic fucking floppy hoodie that she wears, her pointy teeth, and then the fact that she's kind of phony. Like, she's super, like, driven by vain shit like views and money and stuff, and she slips up a few times and makes that super obvious. Dude, I love fake shit like that. I just love characters that are just She is nice. She's not mean. She's just totally a phony. And I love that. Let's see. There's also Rhyme, who is the ghost gym leader. She's a fucking badass. I love her. I was really excited to get to her fight. She's pretty far out there. She's one of the higher level gym leaders. So I think she's the one I did last. But it was a good way to go out. Rhyme is really fucking dope. Grusha, gorgeous femboy. Fucking ooh, beautiful man. Absurdly beautiful man. And I do like his character too. That helps a lot. And then there's Larry. People really bigged up Larry, who is the normal type gym leader. Like, his whole shtick is that he's just a very boring dude. And that's appreciative in his own way, though I do feel like he was a little overhyped to me. He's funny in his own boring way, but, you know, he was just kind of... I get it. They didn't go far enough with the boring, I feel. I do appreciate how deadpan he is, though. I appreciate that. I'm realizing now that that's a weird place to end it on the gym leaders, especially when there's so much more to this game. But yeah, that is where I'm going to end it. Overall, dude, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, dude, if you can't get past the awful, awful, awful performance of this game, I completely get it. I totally understand. But if you have not played this game yet and are worried that, oh, the game runs like such shit, it's so buggy, I don't know if I'll be able to look past that. Give it a shot, dude. This really does genuinely feel like the Pokemon game we've been wanting ever since Pokemon moved to consoles. Or fucking further back than that, even. You know, everybody was saying when Sword and Shield came out and everyone was so disappointed at how bare bones it was, that people were saying, oh, Game Freak, they have no reason to innovate because these games will sell billions of units anyway. And, you know, to that I always say, you know, some motherfuckers just want to play Pokemon, that's the mantra. But I think that this and Pokemon Legends Arceus have kind of shown that to be not entirely true. There's still the issue of these games being rushed out way too fast. And that is concerning, and that continues to be a concern. But, you know, they probably could have just made another game that was like in the Sword and Shield style, that felt super dated and old and shitty. And yeah, it probably would have sold 15 million units as well, and those motherfuckers who just want to play Pokemon would love it. But, you know, this shows that they do have that desire to move forward. They are showing that the Pokemon series is not going to just stagnate with how it was on the 3DS. It's not going to stay that way forever. It is moving forward, and with subsequent games, I do feel like the performance is going to get better. The issues that are with this game are going to get ironed out, and, you know, this is just a very good starting point for the future of Pokemon. Well, it's like a few steps forward from the starting point, because Legends Arceus was the starting point. Now we're a little bit further than that. And once we take that next step, whatever that step may be, I am going to be looking forward to it. Because in spite of itself, this game is really good. And I genuinely, I loved it. Wow, hey, it's like 2 days later because I forgot something. I forgot something very important, and that is Discord comments. As always, if you donate $5 or more to the Thornbrain Patreon, down there in that there description, you can join the Patreon Discord, and I will read your comments about the game that I'll be discussing in future discussion videos. Here is the first one from Disaster Dracula. I'm super conflicted on Scarlet and Violet. Easily the most rushed and unpolished game I've played in recent memory, but I was having more fun with this than Gen 8, even if I barely got through half of it so far. Still waiting for Pal World. Is Pal World that Korean MMO that looks like Pokemon and has like really good graphics? One sec. I don't think so, actually. No, it's I don't think it is. What the fuck? That's just a straight up Bayleaf. Yeah, this is not what I was thinking of. This looks interesting, though. Definitely looks like a Pokemon-like. Anyway, yeah, that confliction is gonna haunt everybody who likes this game, I think. It's like, I really shouldn't. This product is not finished. And it's kind of bad that they released it like this, but... That game is fun. It is very fun. Hey, it's Dingo says, it's one of the best foundations for a 3D Pokemon game to date, but yeah, it is obvious the Pokemon Company's strict deadlines really hurt this game. Just in case, spoiler tagged, let me click that. Clodsire is the most perfect Pokemon to exist, and Rika is Game Freak's personal gift to Sapphics everywhere, so it's a 10 out of 10 for me, Lamau. Clodsire is excellent, and Rika is smokin'. I can't believe I totally forgot to mention Rika during my when I was talking about the characters. Oh my god, she's one of those characters that was designed with the, you know what they're doing, mindset. You know that there is a certain group of people who's girl in suit and masculine clothes, with massive lesbian energy. You know, that you knew that they knew that someone would like that character a lot. GamerPuff says, I love this game. I believe it to be the best Pokemon game I've played. I understand the issues and agree they need to be fixed, but beneath the bugs and bad lag, it's a great game. I mean, it has Larry. Of course it's good. Larry's pretty cool. It also has Sada. Oh boy, it has Sada. And Rika, too. And Miriam. Dude, this game's got some characters in it. Yes, this is a really great Pokemon game, and I truly believe that if not for the terrible performance and bugs and stuff, I really think the response to this game would be almost unanimously positive. It would get the same kind of recognition rather that Sonic Frontiers is getting, I think. PTGO, we have confirmed how they spell their name. PTGO writes, I recognize the flaws in how the game runs with the graphical issues and frame drops. At the same time, Scarlet was one of the most fun core Pokemon games I've played in a while. I found myself enjoying just wandering around, seeing what I could see, and enjoying the story beats when I got around to them, especially Area Zero. Also, I don't know if I've ever been as singularly down bad for a character as I am for Professor Rayford. Yeah, you actually reminded me, reading this, no, it wasn't reading this. You just generally reminded me in another chat about Rayford and how just wonderful of a design she is. She is just so uniquely hot. Just so, got a little weird, and she's got such an interesting, fashion sense and hairstyle, but, no other character looks like her, and that's so cool. Blackjack Gabbiani says, I hope I pronounced that right, I'm loving this game so far. It's a lot of fun, and while the story is a bit spread out, which I think is just a thing with open world games, what I have encountered so far is engaging. It is a little spread out, but you can kind of do it at your own pace is the thing. You can kind of just, if you want, I mean, this is kind of defeating the point of a Pokemon game, but you could speed between all of the different objectives if you wanted. But, taking your time and exploring does make the game's story feel slower, but I think that's fine. Ms. Chris says, I found myself not really having fun with it, TBH. To be honest. I don't know if it's because they gave me too much freedom or the literal slowdown of the game at times that turned me off. What sucks is that I love Breath of the Wild and Xenoblade 3, but I just can't bring myself to play Violet. I like Sword and Shield a lot more, even with the hand-holding. I'm really glad you brought up the aspect of freedom there, because it kind of made me realize that there's a spectrum of open-world games, and everybody's kind of got their place on the spectrum that's their sweet spot, or a point where it's a bit too much. Let me share mine. For example, you've got something like Minecraft, where it's do whatever you want. You really don't have an objective unless you make one yourself. Just do whatever you feel. That is too much freedom for me. I get overwhelmed with choice, and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck to go. Then you have a game like Elden Ring. I played that game for about 30-35 hours, so I didn't get very far in it, but I got a good idea. It's got one main story quest that is always marked on your map, and you're told kind of where to go to further that, but the game of course encourages you to run around and find other things in the world, and that's what you're going to be doing for the overwhelming majority of the game. And that itself, it's a step in the right direction because you still have an objective and the game tells you what that objective is, but it's still a bit overwhelming for me, and that's why I had to step away from Elden Ring. As fun as it was, that and, the Souls-like difficulty of it, which I have always had a hard time getting past, made me step away. Then you have a game like Breath of the Wild, which I think is perfect. you have... It's the same as Elden Ring in the fact that you have your open world with shitload of things to do, and, your objectives are marked. But the thing is, with Zelda, you have 4 objectives you can go to, and therefore 4 directions you can go, and you have a lot of things to do on your way there. I think that is perfect. That, for me, is the perfect amount of freedom. You have, goals to achieve, and you have a long path to get there with a lot of other activities sprinkled throughout it. And then, I don't know where on this spectrum Pokemon Scarlet and Violet lands, because it's kind of got the same thing as Breath of the Wild, but I feel like there's not as much to do on your way there, so really your choices are just like, do one of these like fucking 20 objectives, then do them in an order, There's not a ton of extra stuff to do, other than, catching Pokemon and collecting items and stuff on your way there. So I don't know where Pokemon Scarlet and Violet would land on there, but I think it's pretty close to Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, in terms of my sweet spot for freedom in games. Banyan says, this is my first ever Pokemon game, and I've put 70 hours into it. For an open world game that's pretty empty, all things considered, I found myself enjoying the exploration so much that I would start wandering around for 4 hours straight and not even notice the time. I just love picking up every item and taking dumb selfies with my Pokemon. I guess it helps that I'm not someone who's bothered by glitches that much, though the slowdown is pretty annoying in some areas. I'm sure you can make the argument that the Pokemon Company doesn't respect its fans and that it's morally wrong to support this game, but for me, I feel like I've gotten my money's worth. There's 2 things in particular that I want to talk about with your comment. First is the morally wrong thing. I mean, it feels like a cop-out to say, there's no moral consumption under capitalism, but it really is true. Like, you could pick holes in anything you buy, whether it's a necessity or not. And really, what kind of rubs me the wrong way is that how in the gaming community, people are a lot more gung-ho about a company treating its customers badly rather than being egregiously abusive to its own employees, because it affects them personally. And I understand that. I think at that point is human nature. But every now and again, I'm like, I see people who are like, they still won't use the Epic Game Store because Epic's Game Store is fucking terrible. And they're like, oh, I want to play this game, but it's on Epic, so I don't care. I mean, Epic's not a great company either. But then they'll turn around and be like, oh man, I love Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle and Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And, Ubisoft is Ubisoft. That's a rant, though. Everybody has their line in terms of products that they buy, and I think it's totally fine. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad for the video games they buy. That's just unproductive to me. The second part is the fact that this is your first ever Pokemon game. I'm going to assume, given our general audience, that you're a teenager or an older teenager or an adult. And getting into Pokemon as an adult seems so difficult. Like, if you didn't play it as a kid, it's so hard for people to get into it. So the fact that this is your first ever Pokemon game, that's fascinating to me. And I would love to hear more about it. Honestly. Like, have you always been interested in it? Did you always, watch the anime or have friends who liked Pokemon and you just never got around to playing the games? Or is it just like you put it off for a long time and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to try Pokemon for the first time today. Or maybe it's just the open world and changing gameplay that made you bring it, actually give it a shot. Because that's so cool. I want to hear from more adults who got into Pokemon when they weren't into it as a kid. That's so cool to me because it's such a rarity. The Wind Sleeper says, unsure if this is useful info, but this is first Pokemon game I got in a while. Mainly because my nephew caught a shiny on my file and I can't just keep a shiny away from him. Made budgeting fun. I know the music is pretty rad and I hear good things, so I might give it a shot in the future. More than I can say for most recent Pokemon games. Got brought in by the shinies. I don't blame you. I feel like if I was not enjoying, if I halfway through Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is around when I decided that I didn't like it. If I got a shiny around then, I would be a little bit more like, I gotta finish it now. I got a shiny. I'll be a little bit more enthusiastic, even though I just finished it, by account of sunk cost fallacy instead. And finally, Sonic Fiend says, from performance alone, it is the closest remake of Gen 1 we've ever had. With no. Gen 1 was super buggy, but it ran fine. You know, it ran at least average to a Game Boy game, with the entire ship product being held together by shoestrings and duct tape. I guess I should have finished your sentence, because that makes everything make sense. In spite of that, damn, this is a good foundation that I want them to build on. It is a great foundation. Like, that's really the best way to describe it. It's a great foundation. And underneath all of the performance issues, it is a great game. It's just a shame the performance issues are there. And it's a shame that it is overshadowing how great this game is. It's sad. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me drone on about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I don't know what I'm going to play next. I really don't. I'm thinking of getting back to Final Fantasy IX. Did I say that last time? I forget. I'm debating whether or not I should restart that game, or if I should start back up to where I was, because on one hand, I haven't played it in a few months because I got distracted with Xenoblade Chronicles, but on the other hand, I got like halfway through Disc 3, so I'm wondering, and I kind of remember what was happening and how to play the game, so I'm wondering if I should just pick back up. But yeah, anyway, look forward to whatever I talk about next. Thank you. Gotta catch 'em all, yeah. Bye.